Joining us now on the program is Jonathan Warshay, West Bloomfield Township Trustee. Jonathan, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Tyler.
Appreciate having you on. So you are a West Bloomfield Township Trustee. You've been serving on that for a number of years now. What inspired you to run for Township Board and serve your local community?
Well, my family's always had service, whether it's organizations or whatever. I lived in Ferndale for 20 years and actually did a term on the city council at that point, helping to move that city along. And when I moved to West Bloomfield, I saw all the good things that are happening in terms of environment and community spirit, and I just wanted to participate that way, and it turned out to be an opening, and I've been elected now twice as a trustee, and really enjoy working with the others to serve the residents.
At the forefront of many of the minds of West Bloomfield residents, and certainly those working in the township and associated with the township, are, like you said, those issues on environmental matters. There's such a focus in the township on protecting its natural woodlands and wetlands and all natural areas, and on the parks in the township. For you as a leader, and really with all the trustees and the full-time elected officials, the clerk, the treasurer, and the township supervisor, just how strong of a focus do you as the leaders of this community put on maintaining that environmental quality and sustainability in West Bloomfield Township, and what are some efforts that are currently being made to support that focus?
Well, right now we have actually an opening on the environmental board that's till the 21st applications are being accepted. So we're certainly asking folks who are interested in that area to apply so we can consider them. We filled one recently, and as I said, we have another one to fill. But the important thing is that people love the natural beauty of West Bloomfield, and that's our wetlands and woodlands. And so the board is really concerned with making sure that they're there for everyone. So one of the things that I particularly look at, I'm also on the planning commission, is when we're approving something, how will that affect the wetlands and the woodlands? And can the person who's requesting something change to accommodate those things? So I personally will not vote to approve something that's going to cause harm. And in the same vein, I'm also concerned with affordable housing, because many of the more recent developments are really out of the price range of many people. And we want to have younger people come into West Bloomfield who can afford to raise their families and not require, six-figure incomes from both to do that.
And so how does that challenge then be addressed by the Township Board and by its auxiliary boards like the Planning Commission? As these projects are coming in and you want to attract younger families that are going to put roots down in West Bloomfield and participate in the community and continue those traditions, how do you balance that out with also the fact that many of these properties, that they're just that, they're properties, they're owned by these different entities, and they have every right to do it as they please to a certain extent on these different lands? How do you balance that out as a leader in the community and with other leaders in the community to ensure that the future of the township then is being properly addressed?
Well, you're right that many of them do own the properties, and in many cases they have the right, as long as they're following the rules, to build as they wish. Where we have much stronger influences when they're asking for some type of rezoning or a special land use. And when they're asking for those, then the township has influence in what they're doing, and we can ask them to pursue policies that are more protect more environmentally sensitive areas than they might normally would, or perhaps do things to make the development more affordable to people. So where the law gives us that type of influence, that's where I and others on the board can exercise that influence to make sure that those interests are safeguarded.
And so going back to the auxiliary boards, the boards and the commissions that work on a different number of issues in the township, such as the Planning Commission, the ZBA, Zoning Board of Appeals, the Environmental Commission, other commissions as well. Those take a lot of time, and a lot of effort that's coming from citizens of those of that township, or in other communities, at their cities, their villages. Same thing there. Can you talk about the importance of having people within the community that are willing to take on those challenges, and just how great of a community effort it is in the municipality to maintain the sanctity of that municipality, and why it's so important for when those opportunities arise for people to serve on these boards, that people that take that interest and are willing to provide their time to help their neighbors out?
Well, I can tell you that certainly some of those packets that the members of those boards have to review can be hundreds of pages. I've seen some meeting agendas that are 600 pages, and it's quite a lot of material to go through. So the residents who serve on those boards, certainly they need to be motivated for their service. They also, it really helps when they have the type of expertise in that area, whether it's land use, environmental regulation. They certainly don't have to be someone with years behind them doing that type of work, but they have to have some type of experience, at least in the area, whether it's reading plans or understanding of rules, or even just what it takes to look out for the interests of the community. And all those things are different depending on which board it is. And we look for people who will look out for everyone in West Bloomfield, not just one particular area.
We're joined by Jonathan Warshay, West Bloomfield Township Trustee, on the Michigan MegaCast. More information, keep up to date with the township, and learn more about some of those openings on boards and commissions as they arise at wbtownship.org. That's wbtownship.org. And we also highly encourage you in your town, in your city, in your village, that if you have an opportunity to serve your community on one of these boards, you look into it, because they're important in every single community. They are critical to the present and to the future of those communities as well. In West Bloomfield in particular, where we're talking to one of the township trustees, Jonathan Warshay. That's wbtownship.org for more information, wbtownship.org. Jonathan, last year in June was the inaugural Juneteenth celebration in West Bloomfield. It's happening again this year. Can you tell us about this year's event, where it will be held, and what people can expect if they decide to participate in this year's event?
Sure. So Juneteenth historically was June 19th, because that's the day Black people in Texas were notified that they were no longer slaves. It took the Union Army that long to get there, even though the Civil War ended in April. It wasn't until June. So this year, we're commemorating it on Saturday, June the 18th. It'll be at West Bloomfield High School from 10 to 2. And if it rains, it'll be indoors. Last year, the rain cut it short, which was too bad. We had a great event going. This year, if there's inclement weather, we'll be inside. It's free. There'll be 40 African-American vendors. They are artisans, artists, entrepreneurs, and community partners. I know last year we had the Corvette Club in attendance, so we might have some nice objects like that for people to take a look at. There'll be a storyteller. There'll be a traditional libation ceremony, and it doesn't mean alcohol. They used water last year. So we'll have a lot of high school students performing, art, jazz band, things like that. It's a very welcoming and warm event, and interesting as well as meaningful. It's the type of event that's good for a community to come together.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great event. We had our team from Civic Center TV, their flagship here on the MegaCast, out there for the celebration last year, and it was a wonderful day, and it really did show a nice example of the West Bloomfield community coming together, but also the greater community beyond West Bloomfield, also in celebration of an historically very important day as well. We're joined by Jonathan Warshay, West Bloomfield Township Trustee, with us on the Michigan MegaCast, also happening in the greater West Bloomfield area, West Bloomfield and surrounding communities in Oakland County. Coming up very soon is the Michigan Week Community Awards Breakfast, where they celebrate volunteers in the community. Jonathan, can you speak to the impact that volunteers in West Bloomfield Township and in the surrounding areas have on the nature of this community that's there, and the commitment to service that's inspired by these volunteers all throughout different sectors of the community?
Sure. Well, we've already talked about the boards and commissions, and while some of them may get paid a nominal fee, given the amount of time they put into it, it's more like being a volunteer. But when you look at what United We Walk does, what the Social Justice Committee of the West Bloomfield Democrats is doing with Juneteenth, and by the way, I'll just give a plug for their website. It's www.juneteenthwb.org. When you look at what the Optimists do, the Rotary Club, the scholarships they do for the children, all the work they do for people in need, it's truly amazing. And that doesn't count what organizations that our taxes go to, like the library and Parks and Rec, all the things that they put on in the community. All of that goes to build a community, make it more inclusive for everyone. And, Michigan Week is just a small way of thanking everyone for all the work they do. I was taking a walk yesterday and saw a sign in front of someone's house saying that they were getting an award for being a volunteer for Michigan Week. And that type of recognition is just the type of thing we need to keep doing, and really thank everyone for their help.
And Jonathan, before we let you go, anything else that we haven't touched on today that you'd like to discuss?
The only thing I will talk about is something that the township can't do is the streets. I don't know if folks know, but because we're a township, we don't own our streets. The county does. And they have certain priorities, main roads down to residential, and the money never trickles down to residential because they don't have it. And that's unfortunately why homeowners associations create districts to repair their streets. The costs have been going up. I've lived in my sub for 10 years and watched the streets deteriorate. I was told when I moved in it was $5,000 a house. Now I'm told it would be more than $20,000, which is quite a sum. I'm hoping that the state will do something about it to get more money to local areas so that we can afford to fix streets for our residents, or have some type of program for that. But unfortunately, the township just doesn't collect that kind of revenue to be able to fix streets, and the county doesn't do it. And it's not really a good answer for folks. But unfortunately, that's the truth. And until the state changes the way it's doing the funding, we unfortunately have to pay for ourselves and our own subdivisions.
Jonathan, thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Tyler.